There are days that just happen. You wake up, drink coffee, work, sleep, and there are days that drag you back to places you swore you'd never step foot in again. Today was the second kind. The gym smelled exactly like I remembered. Rubber soles against synthetic flooring, old sweat embedded in the walls, that metallic edge of air conditioning fighting against Boulder's heat. 2 years. 2 full years without entering a place like this, and my stomach was already churning before I even crossed the threshold. Maya, please. Lily had grabbed my hand in the parking lot, her brown eyes shining with tears she was trying hard to hold back. It's just 6 weeks, maybe less. Just until my ankle heals. 6 weeks. She said it like it was nothing, like it was just a favor, picking up her dry cleaning or watering her plants, not stepping back into the sport that had humiliated me so thoroughly I'd packed up my entire life and rebuilt it from scratch. But Lily was my little sister, and she was crying, and Mom had already called me 3 times that morning with that specific tone of voice that meant, you're going to do this whether you like it or not, because family comes first. So here I was, standing in the doorway of Boulder Community Sports Center, wearing volleyball shoes I'd pulled from the back of my closet, shoes I should have thrown away a long time ago, watching a dozen women warm up on the court. The team looked enthusiastic. That was the polite word. They were an amateur league, the kind where people played because they loved the game, not because they were any good at it. A blonde woman in her 40s was setting balls with the wrong hand position. 2 younger women were laughing while completely missing their passing drills. This wasn't the competitive college scene I'd left behind. This was supposed to be safe, casual, low stakes. Then I saw her. Jordan Hayes stood at the edge of the court, clipboard in hand, wearing a fitted black athletic shirt and gray shorts that showed off legs I absolutely did not notice. Her dark hair was pulled back in a ponytail shorter than it had been 2 years ago. She was talking to one of the players, demonstrating something with her hands. Those same hands that had waved dismissively when I'd poured my heart out at that party. My feet stopped working. Just completely stopped, like someone had cut the connection between my brain and my body. She looked older, more serious. There were lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before, a certain weight to the way she carried herself. But it was definitely her. Jordan Hayes, the star player who'd gone pro right after college, the woman who'd actually laughed when I'd told her I had feelings for her. Maya! Lily's voice cut through my spiral. She was sitting on the bench, her ankle wrapped in that horrible boot, waving at me with forced cheerfulness. Come meet Coach Jordan. No, absolutely not. This was not happening. But my legs were moving, betraying me, carrying me across that stupid court like I was on autopilot. Lily was beaming, completely oblivious to the fact that she'd just delivered me into my personal nightmare. Coach, this is my sister Maya. She played in college. She's going to fill in for me. Jordan turned, and for one horrible, suspended moment our eyes met. Nothing. No flicker of recognition. No awkward pause. She just smiled. Professional. Distant, the smile of someone meeting a stranger, and extended her hand. Great to meet you, Maya. We really appreciate you stepping in. Her grip was firm, confident. Lily says you were a middle blocker. My mouth opened. No sound came out. She's being modest. Lily jumped in because of course she did. She was really good. Started varsity her sophomore year. Impressive. Jordan was still looking at me, waiting for me to say something, anything. We could use someone with experience. Most of this team has only been playing a year or 2. I managed a nod. That was all I could give her, a nod. If she thought it was weird, she didn't show it. She just released my hand and turned back to the court. All right, let's get started. Maya, you can jump into the rotation drills. I'll work with you individually after to see where you're at. The next hour was surreal. My body remembered things my mind had tried to forget. The angle of a proper approach, the timing of a block, the way your whole core had to snap into a spike. It came back in fragments, muscle memory overriding 2 years of graphic design work and carefully constructed distance from anything athletic. Jordan ran the practice like someone who'd actually coached before. She was firm, but not cruel, calling out corrections with specificity. Sarah, your footwork is too wide on that approach. Compress it. Katie, great read on that block, but keep your hands higher. She didn't yell, didn't belittle anyone. She just coached. It was disorienting. The Jordan I remembered from college had been all sharp edges and casual arrogance. She'd moved through campus like she owned it, surrounded by other athletes, laughing too loud at parties, never seeming to notice the people she stepped over on her way up. This Jordan seemed different, focused, present. When she worked her way around to me during a blocking drill, I tensed. "Let me see your form," she said, positioning herself on the other side of the net. I went through the motion. Jump, hands up, press over the net. "Good height. Your timing's a little off, but that'll come back." She paused, studying me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. "You're hesitating before you jump. What's that about?" Everything. It was about everything. About standing in this gym, about being near her, about the way my chest was tight and my hands were shaking and I couldn't quite catch my breath. "Just rusty," I managed. She didn't sound convinced. "Run it again. This time, don't think. Just react." I tried. My body went through the motion, but there was no power behind it. No commitment. Jordan's eyes narrowed slightly. Again. We went through it 5 more times. Each time I could feel her frustration building, though she kept her voice even. Finally, she called a break and pulled me aside while the others got water. "Look, I get that you're doing your sister a favor," she said, keeping her voice low. "But if you're going to be here, I need you actually here, not half present, not just going through the motions." The unfairness of it hit me like a physical blow. She had no idea. No memory of destroying my confidence so thoroughly that even stepping on this court felt like swallowing glass. "I'm trying," I said, and hated how my voice came out, small and defensive. Something shifted in her expression. The coaching mask slipped for just a second, and I saw something else underneath. Concern, maybe, or curiosity. "You played in college," she said, and it wasn't a question. "What happened? Why'd you stop?" "Because of you. Because you laughed. Because I built my entire identity around this sport, and you made me feel so stupid for caring that I couldn't separate the humiliation from the game itself. Just wasn't for me anymore," I said instead. Jordan studied me for a long moment. The gym noise faded into background static, the sound of balls hitting the floor, the squeaking of shoes, someone laughing at a missed pass. "That's bullshit," she said finally. But there was no malice in it, just observation. "I've seen people who fell out of love with a volleyball. You don't move like them. You move like someone who's afraid of it." My throat closed up. "I'm not trying to push," Jordan continued, her voice softening slightly. "But I've been where you are. Different reasons, probably. But that look in your eyes, I know it." She couldn't know it. She couldn't possibly know anything about what I felt, because she was the cause of it and she didn't even remember. "I should get back to the drill," I said, moving away before she could say anything else. The rest of practice was torture, not because it was hard physically, though my muscles were screaming after 2 years of nothing more athletic than walking to the coffee shop, but because I could feel Jordan watching me, assessing, trying to figure out the puzzle I apparently presented. When we finally finished, I headed straight for my bag, planning to escape before anyone could corner me into small talk. "Maya, wait up," not Jordan's voice. One of the other players, the blonde woman with the wrong setting form. She jogged over with a friendly smile. "I'm Rebecca. Just wanted to say it's really cool of you to help out. Lily talks about you all the time." Of course she does. Lily never met a private detail she didn't want to share. "Thanks," I said, trying to sound warmer than I felt. "It's just temporary. Still, Jordan seems impressed with you." She doesn't usually spend that much time with individual players on their first day. My stomach twisted. She was just trying to help. "Yeah, that's kind of her thing." Rebecca's smile turned knowing. "She's intense, but she really cares. Took this team from a complete disaster to actually winning games. We're lucky to have her." I made some non-committal sound and finished packing my bag. Rebecca took the hint and drifted away, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the growing dread of having to come back here tomorrow. "Maya." I turned. Jordan was standing a few feet away, her clipboard tucked under her arm. Most of the other players had cleared out. The gym felt too big and too small all at once. "I wanted to apologize if I pushed too hard today," she said. "I have a tendency to. I get focused and sometimes I forget that not everyone responds well to direct feedback." An apology. Jordan Hayes was apologizing to me. The absurdity of it almost made me laugh. Almost. It's fine, I said. It's not, though. She took a step closer. Look, I don't know what your history with volleyball is, but I can see it's complicated. If being here is genuinely painful for you, we can figure something else out. I don't want to make you miserable. The sincerity in her voice was somehow worse than if she'd been cold, because this version of Jordan, thoughtful, considerate, aware of her impact on people, didn't fit with the memory I'd been carrying around for 2 years. I'll manage, I said. Lily needs this. Okay, but if you change your mind. She trailed off, then seemed to shift gears. You played at UC Boulder, right? What year did you graduate? My heart stopped. I didn't. I transferred after a sophomore year. To where? Art school in Portland. Her eyebrows rose. Art school? Why, that's a hell of a switch from D1 volleyball. Yeah, well, I shouldered my bag. People change. They do. Something in her expression was hard to read. What kind of art? Graphic design. I freelance now. That's cool. I always wished I had a creative outlet. All I've ever been good at is volleyball. She said it lightly, but there was an edge underneath. Something that sounded almost like regret. An awkward silence stretched between us. I should leave. Every instinct was screaming at me to leave. I'll see you tomorrow, I said, already turning toward the door. Maya. I stopped but didn't turn back. You played like someone who loved this game once, Jordan said quietly. I don't know what happened to make you stop, but you still have it. That instinct. I saw it today, even under all the rust and fear. I didn't respond. Couldn't respond. I just walked out of the gym and didn't stop until I was in my car with the doors locked. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. She didn't remember. Jordan Hayes, the woman who'd single-handedly destroyed my relationship with the sport I'd built my entire identity around, didn't remember doing it, and somehow, that was worse than if she'd recognized me and been cruel about it, because it meant that night, the night that had replayed in my head thousands of times, that had sent me spiraling into a depression so deep I'd had to completely rebuild myself, hadn't even registered for her. I'd been forgettable, insignificant, not even worth remembering. I sat in that parking lot for 20 minutes, watching the sun set over the Flatirons, trying to figure out how I was going to survive 6 weeks of this. My phone buzzed. A text from Lily. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Coach Jordan says you were amazing today. Another buzz. Mom, so proud of you for helping your sister. See? I knew you missed volleyball. Another, an unknown number. This is Jordan. Got your number from Lily. Just wanted to say thanks again for stepping in. Practice is Tuesday, Thursday, 6 p.m., games on Saturdays. Let me know if you need anything. I stared at that last message. Jordan had my number now. Jordan was texting me. The universe had a sick sense of humor. I drove home in silence, trying not to think about the way she'd looked at me during that blocking drill, trying not to remember how her voice had sounded when she said you still have it, trying not to feel the small, traitorous part of my brain that had noticed how different she seemed from the Jordan I remembered. My apartment was exactly as I'd left it, quiet, organized, safe. My laptop sat on the kitchen table surrounded by sketches for a logo design due next week. Normal life. The life I'd built specifically to be the opposite of competitive athletics and all the pain that came with it. I made tea, opened my laptop, tried to focus on work, but I kept seeing Jordan's face. The way she'd studied me like I was a problem to solve. The genuine concern in her voice when she'd asked what happened. She didn't remember, but she cared now. What was I supposed to do with that? My phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number, from Jordan. Also, I meant what I said. You move like someone who really loved this game. I don't know your story, but I hope you get that feeling back, even if it's scary. I stared at the message for a long time, then I turned off my phone, closed my laptop, and went to bed. Tomorrow I could deal with Jordan Hayes. Tomorrow I could figure out how to survive 6 weeks in the same room as the person who'd broken something fundamental inside me. Tonight, I just needed to not think about the way my heart had jumped when she'd smiled at me, or the fact that, despite everything, despite the humiliation and the years of carefully constructed distance, some part of me had felt alive on that court in a way I hadn't felt in a very long time. That was the most dangerous thing of all.